was January 2025. A cold winter night. The city was awake, but one small apartment was very quiet. Inside that apartment lived Daniel Moore, a 28-year-old night shift worker. He was not famous, not rich, just a normal man with a normal life. That night, Daniel finished his work at 2:14 a.m. Security cameras later showed him leaving the office building alone. He looked tired. His shoulders were low. He checked his phone again and again, as if waiting for something. At 2:31 a.m., Daniel received a voice call. The caller ID showed a name that made his heart stop. But his mother had been dead for 3 years. Daniel stood still on the sidewalk. Cars passed by. People laughed somewhere far away. The phone kept ringing. He did not answer. At least not yet. Daniel's mother had died in 2022 after a long illness. Daniel was there when she took her last breath. He heard her final words. He buried her himself. So when that call came, his hands started shaking. He thought it was a joke. Or a glitch. But the phone rang again. And again. Finally, Daniel answered. "Hello," he said softly. For 2 seconds, there was only breathing. Then a voice spoke. "Danny, why didn't you come home?" It was her voice. Same tone. Same slow way of speaking. Same pain behind the words. Daniel dropped the phone. The call did not end. The voice continued, coming from the ground beside him. "I waited for you. It's so dark here." Daniel picked the phone up again. His mouth was dry. "This is not real," he whispered. The voice changed. "Then why are you crying?" Daniel did not remember starting to cry. He ran. He did not stop running until he reached his apartment. He locked the door. He turned on all the lights. His phone showed 17 missed calls, all from MOM. At 3:02 a.m., the phone rang again. This time Daniel did not answer. A voicemail arrived. He pressed play. It was a recording of himself, crying on the sidewalk, breathing hard, saying, "This is not real." Daniel turned the phone off. The next morning, Daniel told his best friend, Marcus, about the call. Marcus laughed at first. Then he saw Daniel's face. Marcus worked in IT security. He checked Daniel's phone. No hacking signs. No fake up. No call spoofing. The call log showed something impossible. The calls did not come from a number. They came from Daniel's own phone. Marcus tried to explain it away. Maybe stress. Maybe sleep problems. Maybe grief coming back. Daniel wanted to believe that. But the calls continued. Every night. Always after 2 a.m. Sometimes it was his mother. Sometimes it was his father, who was still alive. But the voice always spoke like someone trapped. "It's cold here. They don't like when you ignore us. You promised you would come." Daniel stopped sleeping. Dark circles formed under his eyes. He stopped answering calls from real people. One night, the voice said something new. "We are in your building." That night, Daniel heard knocking. Not on his door. From inside the walls. He called the police. They searched the apartment. Nothing was found. No sounds. No signs. The officer suggested Daniel see a doctor. Daniel nodded. But that night, the phone rang again. This time, the screen showed Daniel's own name. He answered. The voice was calm. "It's almost time." "For what?" Daniel asked. "For you to come down." At 2:44 a.m., Daniel walked out of his apartment. Security footage showed him entering the elevator alone. The elevator stopped at floor B2, the basement. Daniel never came back up. When police searched the basement, they found nothing strange. No blood. No signs of a fight. Only Daniel's phone. Still recording a voicemail. The last sound on the file was Daniel whispering, "Mom." Then another voice answered. "We told you not to keep us waiting." The case went viral in March 2025. Experts tried to explain it. AI voice cloning. Mental breakdown. Hoax. But one detail could not be explained. At 2:14 a.m. every night, Daniel's phone still makes calls. To random people. When they answer, they hear a soft voice say, "Why didn't you come home?" And in the background, there is always the sound of an elevator bell. February 2025, a small town in northern England became quiet in a strange way. People did not stop talking. They stopped looking at each other. The reason was a house. A normal-looking house on Hillcrest Road, number 18. 2 floors. Old brick walls. A white door that never stayed clean for long. A young couple moved into that house in early January. Their names were Oliver Grant and Emily Grant. They were newly married. Happy. Smiling in every photo. They wanted a fresh start. The house was cheap. Too cheap. The real estate agent said the same thing again and again. The previous owner moved abroad. That was a lie. But no one told Oliver and Emily the truth. On their first night, Emily noticed the mirror. It was tall, old, framed in dark wood. It stood in the bedroom facing the bed. Emily asked Oliver, "Did this come with the house?" Oliver shrugged. "Maybe. It's just a mirror." That night, Emily could not sleep. She felt watched. At 2:17 a.m., she opened her eyes and saw movement inside the mirror. Not her reflection. Something behind it. She sat up fast. The mirror showed only the room. Emily laughed nervously and blamed her mind. The next day, Oliver worked late. Emily stayed home alone. She cleaned the bedroom and tried to move the mirror. It would not move. Not even a little. That evening, Oliver stood in front of the mirror and joked, "Maybe it's glued." The mirror did not reflect him fully. His head looked slightly delayed, like it was moving slower than his body. Oliver stepped back. "Did you see that?" he asked. Emily nodded. They decided to cover the mirror with a sheet. That night, the sheet fell on its own. At 2:17 a.m., Emily heard whispering. Soft. "Close." Saying her name. "Emily." She turned to Oliver, but he was asleep. The whisper came again. From the mirror. She covered her ears. The voice changed. "Look at us." Emily screamed. Oliver woke up and turned on the lights. The mirror was uncovered. And inside it, they saw a room that was not theirs. The walls were black. The floor looked wet. And standing inside were people. Many people. All staring. All smiling. And all wearing faces that looked tired, broken, empty. One of them stepped closer to the glass. It was a woman. She spoke without opening her mouth. "Your turn will be soon." Oliver grabbed a hammer from the garage and hit the mirror. It did not crack. The sound was dull, like hitting flesh. The mirror whispered back, "You cannot break a door." The next morning, Oliver searched the house records. What he found made his stomach turn. 3 families had lived in that house before them. All disappeared. No bodies. No signs. Only one thing remained in every case. A mirror in the bedroom. That night, Oliver tried to remove it with tools. At 2:17 a.m., the mirror spoke again. This time it said both their names together. Oliver. Emily. The reflection changed. They saw themselves sleeping. But in the reflection, their eyes were open. Wide. Watching. Emily ran to the bathroom and locked herself inside. She heard Oliver screaming. Then silence. When Emily came out, Oliver was gone. The mirror showed him. Standing inside. Banging on the glass. Crying. "Don't look away," he screamed. "It learns when you look." Hands pressed from the other side. Dozens of hands. Emily backed away. The mirror spoke softly. "One more space is empty." Emily ran out of the house barefoot and screaming. She never went back. Police searched the house for days. They found nothing. Except one thing. A new face in the mirror. Oliver's face. His mouth open. Still screaming. The house was sealed by authorities. The mirror was covered and locked inside. But in April 2025, a contractor reported something strange. He heard voices behind the covered mirror. Saying names. New names. And sometimes, the mirror whispered his name too. In March 2025, a small railway station in Eastern Europe was shut down without warning. No press conference. No clear reason. The station was called Carson Point. It was old. Very old. Built in the 1800s. Only one train passed through it every night at 11:47 p.m. People called it the last train home. For most passengers, it was normal. Until 2025. On March 3rd, a university student named Lena Kovac boarded the train after visiting her parents. She texted her roommate just before the train arrived. "Train is late. Platform is empty." That was the last message she ever sent. The train arrived exactly at 11:47. Security cameras showed Lena stepping inside. She never got off. At first, police thought she fell asleep and missed her stop. Then it happened again. And again. 5 people vanished in 2 weeks. All adults. All alone. All last seen on the same train. The strange part was this. The train driver reported nothing unusual. He said every seat was empty when he reached the final station. No bags. No phones. No signs anyone had ever been there. Authorities installed new cameras inside the train. On March 19th, the cameras recorded something they could not explain. At exactly 11:46 p.m., the lights inside the train flickered. At 11:47, the doors opened. No one entered. But the cameras showed seats slowly becoming occupied. As if invisible people were sitting down. By 11:50, every seat was full. The air temperature dropped suddenly. Frost formed on the windows. Then the camera feed cut off. When the train reached the end station, it was empty again. No frost. No damage. Only silence. A railway officer named Marek Iliev decided to ride the train himself. He was not afraid. He did not believe in ghost stories. Marek boarded the train on March 22nd with a body camera and a recorder. The station was quiet. Too quiet. At 11:47, the train arrived. Marek stepped inside. The doors closed. The train started moving. At first, everything was normal. Then Marek heard coughing. From behind him. He turned. The seats were empty. But the coughing continued. More sounds followed. Whispers. Breathing. Crying. Marek's camera showed shadows forming on the seats. Human-shaped shadows. One shadow leaned close to him. Marek felt cold fingers touch his wrist. A voice spoke near his ear. "You are early." The train suddenly slowed down. Outside the windows there was no land. Only darkness. The voice spoke again. "This stop is not yours." The shadows began to stand. All at once. Marek screamed and ran to the driver's cabin. The driver looked confused. He said, "We never stopped." Marek checked the time. 11:47. Again. The train stopped suddenly. The doors opened. Marek felt something push him. Hard. He fell onto the platform. The doors closed. The train left. The platform sign did not say Carson Point. It said, "Final Return." Marek was found at dawn, sitting alone on the tracks, shaking and crying. He survived. But he was never the same. He told investigators what he saw. The shadows had faces. All of them were tired. Empty. And some were begging. They were not dead, Marek said. They were lost. The railway station was closed the next day. Tracks were blocked. Trains stopped passing through. Officials claimed it was due to structural risks. But 1 month later, something terrifying happened. At 11:47 p.m., nearby homes heard a train whistle. There were no tracks left. People reported hearing doors opening. Footsteps. Someone knocking softly on their front doors. When they checked the door cameras, they saw nothing. But the audio recorded voices. Whispering. "We are home." In April 2025, a leaked railway document revealed something shocking. Carson Point was built over a mass burial site from a war in the 1800s. Hundreds died trying to escape by train. The train never came. Some believe the last train home is still collecting them. Others believe something worse. That the train is not taking people away, but bringing something back. In April 2025, a hospital in Southeast Asia stopped allowing visitors after midnight. Officially, it was for safety. Unofficially, it was because of room 307. The hospital was old, built long before modern cameras and bright lights. At night, the hallways felt longer. The air felt heavy. Most of the strange events happened during the night shift. Only nurses saw them. One of those nurses was Aisha Rahman, age 32. She had worked night shifts for 7 years. She did not believe in ghosts. On April 11th, a new patient was admitted to room 307. The paperwork was incomplete. No name. No ID. No emergency contact. Only one note was written in red ink. Patient arrives at night. Do not leave alone. Aisha found that strange, but hospitals often received unknown patients. The patient was a man. Late 40s. Pale skin. Cold to the touch. His eyes were open. But he did not blink. Doctors checked his heart. It was beating. Slowly. The patient did not speak. At 2:13 a.m., the heart monitor flatlined. Aisha rushed inside. The monitor beeped again. The line returned. The patient's eyes moved. They looked straight at her. Aisha stepped back. The patient smiled. That smile was wrong. It was too wide. Do not turn the lights off, the man whispered. Aisha froze. Patients in his condition could not speak. She called the doctor. When the doctor arrived, the patient was silent again. At 3 a.m., the hospital lights flickered. Room 307's call bell rang. Aisha entered. The patient was sitting up. He should not have been able to move. Someone is under my bed, he said calmly. Aisha looked. There was nothing. But the bed was shaking. Softly. Like breathing. The patient began to cry. They keep coming back at night, he said. They forget they are dead. Aisha left the room shaking. She checked the CCTV monitors. Room 307's camera showed something impossible. The bed was empty. No patient. But the blanket was moving. At 4:44 a.m., the security guard radioed the nurses. Why is there someone walking in the ICU hallway? Aisha checked the camera. A man was walking slowly, barefoot, wearing a hospital gown. His face was blurred. He stopped outside room 307 and disappeared into the wall. The patient flatlined again. This time, the alarm did not stop. Doctors rushed in. The man's body went still. Declared dead at 4:51 a.m. The body was taken to the morgue. At 5:30 a.m., room 307's call bell rang. Again. The nurses stood frozen. No one was inside. The call bell kept ringing. When Aisha checked the patient records, room 307 no longer existed. The room number was skipped in the system, as if it was never there. The next night, the morgue freezer alarm went off. Drawer 12 was open. The patient's body was gone. CCTV showed the drawer opening from the inside. The man sat up, looked at the camera, and smiled. At 2:13 a.m., nurses across the hospital heard whispering. Do not turn the lights off. 3 night shift nurses resigned the next day. Aisha requested a transfer. Before she left, she checked one last thing. Old hospital blueprints. Room 307 used to be something else. A long time ago. It was a temporary holding room for patients who died during surgery. Before death was officially recorded, staff used to call it the waiting room. After May 2025, no one was admitted to room 307, but night shift nurses still report call bells ringing from empty hallways at 2:13 a.m. In May 2025, a public school in South Asia closed without warning. No fire, no flood, no official reason. The school's name was Greenwood Public School. Parents were told it was temporary. Teachers were told nothing. The real reason was locked inside the security room. The problem started with a CCTV recording. A night guard named Rashid Khan noticed something strange on camera 14. Camera 14 covered classroom 4B. At 12:01 a.m., the classroom lights turned on. There was no power schedule for that time. Rashid watched as chairs slowly moved. Desks scraped the floor. Then children entered the room. One by one. They wore old school uniforms. Different styles. Different years. Some looked wet. Some looked burned. Some looked injured. All of them sat down quietly. At 12:12 a.m., a teacher entered. Her face was not clear. She wrote on the board. Rashid zoomed in. The words were simple. Attendance. The teacher began calling names. When a name was called, a child raised their hand. Some hands were missing fingers. Some hands were bones. At 12:29 a.m., the teacher stopped. She looked straight into the camera. Rashid felt his chest tighten. The teacher smiled. She spoke clearly. There is one absent. The camera feed cut off. Rashid did not report it. He told himself it was stress. The next night it happened again. Same time. Same classroom. But this time one chair was empty. At 12:30 a.m., the teacher wrote a new line on the board. New student. The chair filled slowly. Like someone invisible was sitting down. The air in the room moved. The next morning, a student named Ayaan, age 9, did not arrive at school. His parents panicked. By evening, he was still missing. That night, camera 14 showed Ayaan sitting in classroom 4B, wearing the old uniform. Looking confused, Rashid screamed and ran to the room. Classroom 4B was locked. Empty. Dusty. No signs of use. The police were called. They checked the footage. The video file ended at 12:31 a.m. Corrupted. Ayaan was never found. Over the next 2 weeks, 4 more children disappeared. Each time, one more chair appeared in classroom 4B. The teacher always said the same line. The class must be complete. Investigators studied the school history. They found a terrible truth. 20 years ago, a classroom caught fire during extra classes. The door was locked. No one escaped. The teacher died trying to protect the children. The classroom number back then was 4B. The school closed after the 5th disappearance. But the CCTV system stayed active. On the final night, Rashid recorded something no one can explain. At 12 a.m., classroom 4B was full. Every chair occupied. The teacher smiled. She wrote the final words on the board. Class dismissed. The children stood up and walked toward the camera. The feed ended. When authorities shut down the system, one last audio file saved itself. Children's voices, saying together, "See you tomorrow." Greenwood Public School never reopened. Nearby homes still hear a bell ring at midnight. And sometimes, parents report their children waking up and saying, "I was late for class." In June 2025, people across 3 countries started receiving the same message. It always came at 3:17 a.m. The sender had no name, only a number. 000000000. At first, most people ignored it. The message was simple. I can see you now. One of the first reported cases came from Kuala Lumpur. A rideshare driver named Farid received the message while sleeping in his car. His phone vibrated. He opened the message. Then he looked up. Someone was standing outside his car. Farid screamed and drove away. The next day, Farid went missing. His car was found parked neatly outside his home. Doors locked. Phone inside. The message was still open. I can see you now. More reports followed. Different cities. Different people. Same message. Same time. Police traced the number. It did not exist. Telecom companies said the number was not registered. It was impossible. Then voice calls started. When people answered, they heard breathing. Slow. Close. Sometimes the caller spoke. You left the light on. You forgot to lock the door. One woman received a call that said, "You are not alone." She was. She turned around. Her front door was open. Security cameras caught nothing. In July 2025, a tech student named Rohan Mehta decided to investigate. Rohan was curious, not afraid. He built a system to trace signal paths. At 3:17 a.m., his computer lights flashed. The call came. The signal did not come from a tower. It came from inside his phone. From storage. From old data. Deleted files. Voicemails. Photos. Rohan played the audio. The breathing matched his own. Recorded weeks earlier. The voice spoke. You let me in. Rohan panicked and smashed the phone. The calls continued. From a new phone. From his laptop. From his smart TV. At 3:17 a.m., his lights turned off. The screen turned on by itself. A message appeared. Do not delete us. Rohan was found the next morning. Alive. But silent. He never spoke again. Doctors said his vocal cords were fine. But he refused to make a sound. By August 2025, the number had appeared in over 300 cases. Always the same pattern. Message. Call. Disappearance. Or silence. One leaked police report revealed something disturbing. The victims had one thing in common. They all had old phones. Old backups. Old deleted voice notes. Things they forgot. Experts began to believe the number was not calling people. People were calling it. Without knowing. Every time they recorded something. Every time they spoke alone. Every time they whispered in the dark. In September 2025, a final message was sent. This time, it came from many numbers at once. Different phones. Different locations. Same text. We are already saved. After that, the messages stopped. The number vanished. But some people still report something strange. At 3:17 a.m., their phones light up. No message. No call. Just the screen turning on. Showing the front camera. Watching them. In July 2025, a religious site in the Middle East was quietly closed at night. No annoncement. No warning. The place was known as Al-Noor Prayer Hall. It was old. Very old. Built on land people avoided after sunset. For years, night prayers were allowed there. Until the recordings began. The caretaker of the hall was an old man named Yusuf. He lived nearby and locked the doors after the final prayer. One night, Yusuf forgot his phone inside the prayer hall. He returned around 1:40 a.m. The hall was dark. Silent. As he unlocked the door, he heard prayer. Soft voices. Many voices. Praying together. But there was no night prayer at that hour. Yusuf stood frozen. The voices were calm. Too calm. He stepped inside. The lights were off. He whispered, "Is someone there?" The prayers stopped. All at once. Then one voice answered, "Stay." Yusuf ran. The next morning, Yusuf gave his phone to the local council. He was shaking. The phone had recorded something by itself. At 1:47 a.m. The audio was clear. Men praying. Women praying. Children praying. Then silence. Then a final line. Spoken clearly. "We heard you." The council ignored it. Until more reports came. People living near the prayer hall heard prayers at night. Always between 1:45 and 2 a.m. Security cameras were installed. On the first night, the cameras recorded something impossible. The doors stayed locked. But inside the hall filled slowly. Shadows appeared. They bowed. They prayed. They moved together. At exactly 1:59 a.m., all heads lifted at the same time. They looked at the camera. The feed cut. A religious scholar named Dr. Hamid Salim was invited to investigate. He believed fear created illusions. On August 3rd, he stayed inside the hall overnight. At 1:45 a.m., he began to record. The air grew cold. The prayer mats moved. By themselves. Dr. Hamid started praying. His voice was steady. Then something happened. A voice answered him. Not repeating his words. Correcting them. Dr. Hamid stopped. The voice continued. "Your words are old." Dr. Hamid's hands shook. He asked, "Who is here?" The answer came from everywhere. "We are the ones who waited." The shadows formed rows. Facing him. Praying without sound. Dr. Hamid tried to leave. The door would not open. At 1:59 a.m., the shadows spoke together. "Pray with us." The recording ended. Dr. Hamid was found outside the hall at dawn. Alive. But his hair had turned white. He refused to speak about that night. Only wrote one sentence on paper. "Do not answer back." The prayer hall was closed permanently. But the recordings did not stop. Phones near the hall record prayers at night. Even when turned off. In September 2025, a leaked audio file spread online. It was different. A child's voice was heard. Soft. Asking, "Can we go home now?" Then the prayers began again. Louder. Stronger. As if something was listening. Waiting. In August 2025, a forest in North America was placed under restricted access. No tourists. No campers. No hikers. The forest was called Black Pine Reserve. The reason was not fire. It was sound. The first report came from two hikers, Evan and Lucas. They entered the forest on August 6 for a 2-day hike. At 6:20 p.m., Evan used a small emergency radio to test the signal. Instead of static, a voice replied, "You are walking too far." They laughed. Someone else must be using the same channel. At 7:03 p.m., the radio spoke again. "Turn back now." Lucas felt uncomfortable. They kept walking. That night, Evan recorded a short video. Trees moved slowly in the background. Not with the wind. Together. At 11:40 p.m., the radio turned on by itself. The same voice returned. "We can see your light." The light from their camp lamp flickered. The trees leaned closer. Lucas wanted to leave. Evan said they were imagining things. At 2:11 a.m., the radio screamed. Not words. Screams. Human screams. Then silence. By morning, Lucas was gone. No tracks. No blood. Only the radio, placed neatly on a rock. Still warm. Search teams entered the forest that afternoon. They used radios. At first only static. Then a whisper. "Stay together." The rescue team leader, Officer Daniel Reed, ordered everyone to keep moving. The forest felt wrong. Too quiet. No birds. No insects. At 4:33 p.m., one rescuer heard his own name on the radio. He froze. The voice sounded like his wife. Crying. Begging him to come home. He walked into the trees. They never found him. That night, radios across the team activated. Different voices. Same message. "You are close." The team pulled out at sunrise. 2 rescuers were missing. Authorities closed the forest. But the signal did not stop. Park rangers reported radios turning on inside locked offices. The voice became clearer. It learned. It copied voices of people who had gone missing. In September 2025, a final rescue attempt was approved. This time they used drones. No radios. No sound. The drones flew deep into Black Pine Reserve. The video feed showed something impossible. Trees bent inward, forming shapes. Paths that did not exist before. At the center of the forest, a clearing. Hundreds of radios. Old. New. Broken. All placed in a circle. All turned on. All whispering. The same sentence. "We are not lost anymore." The drones lost signal. When they returned, one drone carried audio. A final recording. Officer Reed's voice. "Come." Empty. Saying, "Do not answer the signal." The forest remains closed. But hikers near the area report something strange. When they stand near the tree line, their phones lose signal. And a voice comes through. Soft. Familiar. Saying, "We can hear you." In September 2025, a quiet neighborhood in South America became famous for one reason. Every night at 3 a.m., the houses moved. Not outside. Inside. The first report came from a family named the Silvas. They installed security cameras after hearing sounds at night. At exactly 3 a.m., the camera footage showed furniture shifting, chairs sliding, doors opening slowly. No people. No pets. At 3:07 a.m., the hallway camera showed a shadow moving across the wall. The shadow did not match anything. The Silvas left the house the next morning. They never returned. Within weeks, 4 more families reported the same thing. Same time. Same movements. Authorities said it was structural damage. But the cameras showed something else. The shadows had shape. Long arms. Bent legs. Moving carefully. A paranormal investigator named Clara Mendez entered one of the houses on October 2nd. She set cameras in every room. At 2:59 a.m., the air changed. At 3 a.m., the front door locked itself. Clara stood still. The walls breathed. Slowly, the hallway grew longer. Doors moved further apart. The house was changing shape. A voice whispered from the ceiling. "You are inside now." Clara ran. The hallway never ended. At 3:17 a.m., all cameras cut. Clara was found at sunrise. Outside the house. Unconscious. Her recording device survived. The audio was clear. A voice spoke calmly. "Houses remember." After that night, the neighborhood was evacuated. Homes were sealed. But at 3 a.m., nearby cameras still catch movement through the windows. Shadows. Walking. Rearranging. As if preparing. In November 2025, one final video leaked online. It showed all the houses at once. At 3 a.m., lights turned on. Doors opened. Shadows stepped outside. And then, the houses went quiet. The next morning, every house was empty. Furniture gone. Photos missing. Walls scratched. Only one message was written inside every home. The same words. In December 2025, a classified file was leaked online. It did not come from one country. It came from many. The file was called Project Unreturned. At first, people thought it was fake. Then they started reading. The file contained reports, cases, audio logs, video stills, all from 2025. They matched every story. The phone calls, the mirror, the train, the hospital room, the classroom, the number, the prayer hall, the forest signal, the moving houses. They were not separate events. They were stages. The project started as a research program. Governments wanted to study something called residual human presence. The idea was simple. When people disappear suddenly, they do not leave completely. Something stays behind. Memories, voices, habits, fear. Technology was built to detect it. Cameras, phones, radios, CCTV, smart devices. At first it worked. They recorded whispers in empty rooms, movements without bodies, voices with no source. Then something changed. The presences began to respond. They learned names. They copied voices. They waited. One document described the rule. If acknowledged, the presence becomes aware. Another line followed. Once aware, it seeks return. The problem was never ghosts. It was people who never finished leaving. People trapped between moments, between places, between recordings. One leaked video showed a dark room. A man sat alone. His name was removed. He spoke calmly. We gave them mirrors. They looked back. We gave them trains. They boarded. We gave them rooms to wait, signals to follow, homes to remember. A woman off camera asked, "Can we stop it?" The man shook his head. We already taught them how. The final section of the file was titled, December Incident. On December 21st, 2025, something happened worldwide. At the same moment, 3:17 a.m., phones turned on, radios activated, cameras woke up. People reported hearing familiar voices, calling their names, asking simple things. Are you there? Can you hear me? Did you forget us? Some people answered. Some did not. The ones who answered were never seen again. The last page of the file contained one warning, written in bold. Do not respond. Do not look back. Do not answer. Below it was a final audio transcript. The voice was calm, not angry, not cruel, just patient. We are not trying to scare you. We are trying to come home. The file ended there. No explanation. No ending. But people noticed something. After the leak, the story stopped. No more calls. No more signals. No more moving houses. As if something was waiting, watching, reading, and learning that now, everyone knows. And sometimes late at night, When the room is quiet, people feel the urge to speak, to ask, to answer. But those who remember the file stay silent, because the final line of the archive said, "They only exist when you acknowledge them."